take a look at how you'll do the green building percent reductions practice. Remember, as you're doing your research, you're going to find that most green building standards talk about a percent reduction. You have to reduce by 30%, reduce by 20%, reduce by 10% in order to meet the standard. And that's all from some original value. And so we're just going to practice how to calculate that so that you can prove that your designs meet the standard. And I chose a couple of pretty basic ones that are used throughout industry. Reducing building energy use. Before solar panels, I used 100 kilowatt hours. After, I used 90. What is my percent reduction? That would be a 10% reduction. Okay, reduce site water use. Before I put in low flow shower heads, I used 100 gallons per day. Afterwards, I used 90 gallons a day. What is the percent reduction? So those types of things. And then building materials. And then there's just something called use less stuff. But that's often the things that go into a building or make your design smaller. So I'm going to show you on one of these. I've given you a sample. Let me zoom in on it here so that you can see the sample. And also let me go into my, I need to view this in full screen. A little bit easier to see if I show it to you in full screen. So here's prior to installing solar panels on a large commercial building, and you guys have seen this with the eQuest, how big these numbers can get. Monthly energy use averages 18,000 kilowatt hours per month. That would be about $9,000 a month. Okay, and then after it went down to 12,000 kilowatt hours a month. So we want to compute that energy reduction. This is just straight plug values into a formula. And so here's the formula right here. Whoops, there we go. So a percent reduction is 1 minus the new value divided by the old value. And remember, when you're doing computations, you always do the divide and multiply. The divide first, and then you do the 1 minus. And that's because it's in the parentheses. You do that first, what's in the parentheses, first, then you do the divides, then you do the add and subtract. So divide new value by the old value. 1 minus that number times 100. That's your percent reduction. So this is what it turns into. I plug in my new value, 12,000. I plug in my old value, 18,000. And then you can just plug this right into a calculator or an Excel spreadsheet. I don't suggest you do it in your brain unless you're really good at that. And then personally, I like to see each step so that I can go back and check the work of the people that are working for me. So I ask this step to be done, 1 minus 0.67. And that turns times 100 is 33%. So that's how we get that done. Okay, so let's do an example over here of what you're going to do. Right, so here it is with some different numbers. So I'm going to say, what is my new? My new is prior to the installation of a large commercial building. I used to use 15,000. Now I use 9,000. What's the percent energy reduction? So let me get out of this view so that I can actually type. So you can just highlight that whole little dash and put 9,000, and you can highlight this whole little dash and put in 15,000. And then let's do that calculation up here. So 9,000 divided by 15,000, 0.6. So I can change that with 0.6. So now I need 1 minus 0.6, 1 minus 0.6 times 100. 40. I got a 40% reduction. Oop, the percent was already there. Okay, so that's how you do it, and you fill in, you do it for each of these. For each one of these, you do them. Okay, and then I'm going to come back here just like I often do. I'm going to take those computations and I'm going to do a snip of them. So I can get just the computations themselves. Go put them in up here. Do a nice job. Make it fit as nicely as it can. Should be as readable as possible. And again, it's nice to put the formatting on it. Get more points that way. And so once you've done each of those, you'll put your items up here. Okay, so there you go. That is your green building percent reductions. You essentially have 16 little problems to do. And because we're following industry standards where you have to show your computations for the checker, for the professional engineer, and for the planner, we're going to practice doing that by typing in this stuff as you go. Okay? And that really is how it's done in the field, either on a spreadsheet or on a computation pad or in your own program where you put in the inputs and you show the programming. There's always a trail on computations so somebody can double check, because safety is number one and getting computations right is absolutely critical to safety. All right, there we go.